Saying thank you is such a Canadian thing. The running joke from American television is that Canadians are so nice and so polite. But despite this, we as Canadians and Manitobans have forgotten to thank those who are dealing with the impact of COVID-19 on the frontline workers. Long-term care resident staff in particular have been overlooked throughout this past year. Media outlets have been reporting on deaths in care homes, but have failed to look at the impact COVID is having on frontline actual workers. The Long-Term and Continuing Care Association of Manitoba want to rectify that by having Manitobans send messages of thanks to the staff. They have started a campaign called the Unsung Heroes Campaign in the hopes of generating words of support from Manitobans. To tell us more about the Unsung Heroes Campaign is Jan Legeros, Executive Director of the Long-Term and Continuing Care Association, and Connie Newman, who is the Executive Director of the Manitoba Association of Senior Centres and Chair of the Manitoba Seniors Coalition. Connie and Jan, so nice to have you here over Zoom.
Good morning.
Thanks,
nice.
Chris. Thank
Nice
you
to-
for having us.
Oh, thank you. So first, Jan, I'm going to ask this question for you. What does the Long-Term and Continuing Care Association of Manitoba do?
Well, we've been around for over 60 years, Chris, and we are a member-based nonprofit association. And our primary objective is to advocate on behalf of seniors in care. So we have membership across all of the major care options that seniors enjoy: assisted living, supportive housing, and personal care homes. So we're able to address all of the different levels of care that seniors might travel through.
Okay. And Connie, maybe I'll ask this question of you. I know you connect with long-term care facilities. Can you tell us what a frontline care worker does at a long-term facility, excluding doctors and nurses? But can you give us some examples of some of the things that frontline workers do?
Definitely. I call them the worker bees inside a setting, a congregate setting, a setting where residents live. They could be anybody from those that help to prep meals, those that help to bathe, those that assist in sometimes serving meals. They are the welcoming, smiling faces on the inside of a residence.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask this question to both of you. One of the things that has certainly been focused on during this whole COVID-19 pandemic is long-term care homes and deaths and et cetera. There's sort of many sides to this question. Firstly, am I wrong in saying that COVID-19 affects seniors worse than a healthy person, a healthy younger person? Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely, Chris. I think that one of the things that we have to remember is that our most vulnerable seniors reside in personal care homes. So the three levels of a senior's journey that I spoke of earlier in terms of assisted living, supportive housing, and personal care home, those are escalating levels of care. So in a personal care home, we have our most ill senior who often has many different problems. You could have a senior there who has diabetes, heart disease, coupled with dementia as well. So these are definitely the population that have been hit the hardest with COVID primarily due to the significant physical problems that they have. The other thing that COVID has taught us, though, is that it loves crowds and it loves places where we share. It loves shared dining spaces, shared washrooms, shared accommodations. So we've certainly learned through COVID that those are the hardest hit residences of all.
Right.
And I think to add to that, Chris, we need to think about all people living in congregate settings, because we have some people living in a congregate setting that may not be senior, and they also have been impacted by COVID.
Right.
And the workers there as well are under the same kind of stress going forward.
Yeah, and it sort of leads into my next question. One of the things that the media is very quick to report on is deaths at care homes, but one of the things that gets overlooked is these frontline workers. You're dealing with fatigue from dealing, with long hours and patients, stress, and then I got to suspect that the negative reporting from various media doesn't do a lot to boost morale for frontline workers. Is that right? Can you speak to that?
It's horrific. I have a real problem with media going since all of this started, because we're constantly painting negative pictures.
Right.
And in the 3 homes I connect with on a daily, weekly basis, if you're living under that negative umbrella and then you're caring and doing your best for our older adults, seniors, the residents, it becomes mentally exhausting because you're constantly being reminded by news and media that it's not a great situation. Well, many of those workers inside are doing an awesome job of the smiles, the connecting, where we as caregivers have to stay away because we could be carrying the virus.
Right. So can you get what are things that frontline workers are doing to stay positive and upbeat? Can either of you give me examples of how they're coping with the stress and fatigue, et cetera?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, they are trying by digital means to help us caregivers connect with our loved ones. I think about iPads, notebooks, cell phones. I have a resident special person in Oakview. He and I, because of his ability to use a cell phone, phones me every day at 10 after 5. Doesn't matter where I am. That for him is a lifesaver from a mental point of view.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think that there are so many residents that are using virtual visiting as a mode to work through this pandemic, Chris. But not all of them are as fortunate as the gentleman that Connie just described. So many of the staff are setting up cell phones, iPads, whatever kind of device they might have in the home for the resident, and actually having to, stay there in the room with the resident and the family, and, just make sure that the visit goes as well as we can technologically expect it to. Right. So many hours of time is spent by staff making sure that residents can connect with their families and loved ones. I remember hearing one story of a lady early on in the second wave, who she was 100 years old, and she had learned how to set up the iPad herself, and she was actually teaching the other residents how to set up the iPads as well. But one of the really cute stories that I heard was a resident who hadn't seen her family for quite some time until they did get some devices into the residence. And when she saw her grandson, he had grown a beard. So she touched the screen and she said, I'm really not too sure about this.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the things that you're touching on is the incorporation of technology to sort of keep patients connected with their families. I mean, because that I think that's got to be really, really tough. Family members of patients who are in long-term care houses and having to see their family members virtually, I guess, but not really be able to touch them and exchange hugs and that kind of thing. How is the staff working with that? I mean, aside from the technology end of things.
In the 3 homes, residences that I'm personally connected with, the staff have gone above and beyond to ensure that the digital technology for the resident is available as I, the caregiver, want it to be available. So there's no lack of staff time in my experience to make that happen.
Right.
I need to ask and they will make it happen at all 3 sites.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so on April the 6th, the Long-Term and Continuing Care Association of Manitoba is launching their Unsung Heroes Campaign. Jan, can you tell us what exactly the campaign is and how long the campaign will run for?
Certainly, Chris. I think that I just want to preface this by saying that, over the past year, there have been many overtures made by our government and others who have thanked profusely healthcare workers. I found out about a month ago that our staff that work in long-term and continuing care, so personal care homes, supportive housing, and assisted living, do not view themselves as healthcare workers because they work in the residents' homes.
Okay.
So all of the time that people have been thanking healthcare workers, they haven't felt that they were in that category. So when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, we have to do something about this, because these are staff that we need to make sure understand that we have significant words of gratitude to share with them. So I thought about how could I make sure that all staff had access to this information? And the best way I could think of, because I'm sure 99.9% of staff have a cell phone, was to make a section on our website that would be available to them night and day, so that they could go to that section on the website and always find a story or a message of thanks or a video to watch or an audio clip such as the one that we're creating today to listen to, so that they could know that there are many, many, many Manitobans out there who want to say thank you so much. Go ahead, Connie.
Connie?
And I'd like to add on to that, at the 3 homes, and I'm going to name them: Oakview, Charleswood Care Center, and Thorvaldson Care Center. I hear from staff, our family, and that's what the staff in those 3 sites talk about: our family, our residents. But I hear the word family a lot. So the staff there think of their residents as their family. Very, very important to all of us.
Of course. So, Jan, what are you asking people to do in the Unsung Heroes campaign? Are you asking them to submit video and or audio messages? And if that is the case, where can they go to do that?
Absolutely. So what I did to initially start this, Chris, was I wrote to all of our government dignitaries, both provincial and federal. So starting with the Prime Minister and including, of course, our Premier, both health ministers, people that all of us have seen and heard from over the past year, who we know would be familiar to the staff. And I've asked them to create videos of gratitude. These will be posted on the website for the staff to watch at their leisure anytime. But as well as that, I'm also asking for stories. So I've asked some of the management staff at the personal care homes and other care residences for stories where staff have gone above and beyond. We'll post those stories as well. Then finally, there'll be a link on the website called Unsung Heroes. And when you click on that link, it takes you to an email menu, which allows the person who's clicked on it to write a message of thanks, attach an audio clip of thanks, attach a video, whatever they're most comfortable doing. And that will be posted on the website as well. I anticipate this campaign going on for at least a couple of months, because I think there are many, many Manitobans out there who want to express their thanks. And to do that, they simply go to our website, and the address is roadtocare, all one word, .ca. and that will take them to the homepage. There'll be a graphic on the homepage that they click on, and it takes them to the Unsung Heroes section. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's great. You know, you sent me some messages from patients, and I saw the video that Heather Stephenson had recorded. So you've received messages from politicians and from patients. Are there any other specific groups that you're hoping to hear thanks from, or is it just everybody?
I think that it's every Manitoban who has a family member or a loved one who is over the age of 65, who happens to live in a congregate setting where there are staff helping to make sure that they stayed safe throughout the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so the campaign is done. Where do you see them? Are the messages going to stay up on the website for the foreseeable future? Like, what do you plan to do with the messages once the campaign is done?
Well, I'm going to be making sure that those messages remain on the website until such time as I see that there's no further activity, Chris. And at that time, if any of the members of our association express an interest in the videos or the audio clips, then certainly we'll make them available on the website in an archived area. But I can't see us bringing this down off the website for many, many months, because I think there'll be a lot of interest. And
of course,
you know, they're talking about a third wave. In the United States, they're talking about a fourth wave. I think that we're going to keep on thanking our wonderful staff for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. And you're not asking for anything like super fancy. It could just be a quick note that somebody leaves up on the website, right? It doesn't need to be like high production or anything. It just needs to be a quick note thanking frontline workers. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It just needs to be a simple thank you. You know, it's if you feel that you can produce a video or an audio clip, great. But I'm sure the staff would be happy just to see the words. Yeah,
and it certainly, I think, would go a long way to help counteract the pressure and the stress, and help boost the morale of frontline workers. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
It just sounds like an excellent campaign. And for those listeners out there, if you go to classic107.com, I'll embed a link where you can submit messages of thanks to these wonderful frontline workers. It just is, this Unsung Heroes campaign just sounds just great. Jan and Connie, thanks. This has just been wonderful. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
You're quite welcome.
Yes, and thank you so much.
My pleasure.